Okay, so here are the questions for French. And I'll give you like a few seconds just to think about, your answer. Or if you guys have an answer, then, and we can go back and forth between your answers. So, the first question is, what are your family origins? And we'll start with Mama.
My family origins are Irish on my father's and my mother's side, and then German on my mother's side, and Swiss German on my father's side. Actually, Swiss French on my father's side.
Gotcha. Cool. Daddy?
Irish. 100% Irish.
Okay. So, when did your family move to the U.S.? So, Mama?
Both sides of my family moved to the U.S. right after the Civil War in about 1860. So mid to late 19th century.
And Dad?
Auntie Allison would be able to answer that.
You're not Auntie Allison.
She's the historian. I would say they probably came maybe in the 20s, maybe?
1920s?
Yeah, maybe. 1900s. So it was my great-grandparents.
Right, so Bucko was born, he was married, and your dad was born in 33.
Yeah.
So he was married in late 20s, so it would have been late 19th century.
Okay.
Late 19th century.
Okay. So, what states have you lived in the U.S. in your life?
I have lived in Tennessee, Massachusetts, Virginia,
Lived. I know you've been to all 50.
I
Or
guess that's
almost.
it.
Okay.
Was that Tennessee, Massachusetts, and Virginia? That's it?
Same with you, Deb?
Seems like there should be. No, New York.
Oh, New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deb?
Yeah, so Massachusetts and New York and Michigan and then
Virginia.
Massachusetts again, and then Virginia, and then Tennessee.
Mama's giving him hints. Okay. Where did you meet?
Boston College. Dorman Picklesheimer's Intro to Communications class.
Amy Siegenthaler?
Hey, Miss Siegenthaler, are you related to Beth Siegenthaler?
Okay. Where is the first restaurant you ever ate together? Like for a date?
For a date? It would have to be Gene and Georgetti's, right? No, yeah, for a date.
Yeah.
Gene and Georgetti's in Chicago.
Gotcha. Let's see. What was the first place you visited together?
Chicago. Well,
Ireland.
You mean as a date or just?
Yeah, like as a couple.
Ireland was a couple.
No, we weren't a couple.
See, what you need to understand is that we were friends for 16 years before we got married. So we visited Ireland together when we were 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But the first place we visited as a couple was
Chicago.
Gotcha. Let's see. So how long were you dating before you got married?
1 year.
1 year up?
I'll just move my mouth.
Just clarifying. Just making sure that there was no confusion. Just if...
1 year.
1 year.
I thought it was 2 or 3.
It was one. Well, Veronica, remember, we were friends for 16 years.
Yeah.
Well, no. We got engaged after 1 year. And then we got married a year later.
So pretty much 2 years. Okay. What was your childhood like?
I was an orphan.
Mama. Mama.
No, my childhood was wonderful. My memories of my childhood are being surrounded by family all the time and going to parties and events and having my grandmothers around and visiting family all the time. And I had a very charismatic father who could light up any room and was so smart and always made us feel good and safe and was so funny. He could make us laugh so hard. And then I had a little German taskmaster as a mother, but she loved art and she loved music and she was an educator and they both placed great value on education and on travel and taking us to see things, and they didn't have very much money, but they always figured out how to take us to see things and how to get us educated, and we just had we really did. It was and I had 3 sisters, and we were very close and still are, and we just had a terrific time.
That's awesome. Deb?
I can't remember the question. What was the question?
It was what?
Are you suggesting I went on for a long time?
It's a short memory. All right,
What was
your childhood like?
Oh, it was a great childhood.
That's great.
It was great. We
The Portuguese kids.
yeah, we had a great neighborhood. We had lots of friends in the neighborhood, and we used to. There was a field between our neighborhood and the next neighborhood over, and we used to have we used to have battles with the Portuguese kids that lived in the other neighborhood. In the fields, we would hurl apples, like rotten apples, at each other. But it was really fun. We used to ride bikes all over the place, and it was a great park we would go to, and we'd play kick the can, and just. It was a fun neighborhood to be part of, and I have my parents were great and are great, and they are they still live in Massachusetts, and I have 2 brothers and a sister, and they all live up there too, and it was just a lot of fun growing up. We had a good time and played with our cousins and had family fun times together. So it was fun.
That's great. How would your parents describe you? Mama?
Well, my father did describe me, and the word he chose for me was purposeful. He said I would focus on a goal and I would get it. And I always had a purpose. When I woke up in the morning, I just didn't hang to do. I had things to do. So he described me as purposeful. I think that Boo Boo would describe me as dependable, probably. She always said, Katie's the funny one. But she relies on me a lot, and I think she would think and I think they both say I was smart. And I really didn't give them trouble. I never gave them trouble. I was actually a really good kid. No, I was. I really
That's
was.
good.
I mean, I wasn't perfect, but I didn't give it. I was very. The worst thing in the world for me would have been to disappoint them.
Mhm.
As period. So I always wanted to rise to the occasion.
Good. Deb?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. That would be the worst thing, to disappoint them. How would they describe me? They would describe me as crazy, funny, smart, thoughtful, terribly handsome.
Your mother would.
Yeah, they would describe me as a good person, I guess. Good dad.
Cool. Let's see. Who inspired you the most growing up? Mama?
You mean out of anybody?
Yeah.
Who inspired me the most? I'm gonna have to think about that. Why don't you answer that first?
That's a hard one. That's
Okay.
a really hard one.
Deb?
Who inspired you the most
Growing up.
growing up? I'd probably say my uncle. My mother's brother, who we all admired because he was on TV, he was a reporter, and he was it was interesting because my dad and my brothers, they were really into sports and they did all that. They were really good at that. I was really small and I couldn't really play sports. I wasn't a good athlete. And my uncle was interested in the theater and he liked music and he was a really creative kind of guy, and I just thought he was a really interesting person, and he inspired me to do stuff that not everybody was doing around where I grew up. So I would say my Uncle Bill. Yeah.
That's a good answer. I'm not quite sure. I really thought there were a few people I was inspired by. I mean, I would say obviously my father. I mean, he was just incredible. He still inspires me. And his brother John, my grandmother Mary. I mean, there were a lot. My Uncle Charles. There are a lot of people who inspire me. People who came to mind. I loved Katharine Hepburn. I just thought she was, because she did whatever she wanted, and she was smart and she was attractive, but she wasn't. She was feisty woman, and she did whatever she wanted. And I loved her. And I also remember going to Boston and visiting the Kennedy Museum in Boston and thinking that man, John F. Kennedy, was incredible. And the way he inspired, and he was dead by the time I was born, but the way he inspired a generation with his words is really something.
Good. These are like pretty